It was supposed to be just another interview, just another news story, just another face on television. But for Maria, a young woman from Manila, this day would be unforgettable. The lights of the CNN studio were bright, the cameras were cold, and the world was watching, completely unaware that they were about to witness the true strength of Filipino pride. Maria adjusted her microphone, took a deep, steadying breath, and remembered the words her mother had always told her. Kapit lang, anak. Stand tall, and let your heart shine. As she stepped in front of the camera, her dark hair neatly tied, her brown eyes full of quiet determination, she knew she wasn't just carrying herself. She was carrying the spirit of millions of Filipinos all across the world. The interview began, and then, almost immediately, the laughter started. You could hear it from the commentators, see the smirks in the audience. On social media, it was like a wildfire of mockery. "Who is she?" one person typed. "She doesn't belong here," wrote another. The weight of that ridicule felt heavy, but Maria reminded herself of why she was there. She was representing the Philippines, a nation known for its courage, its resilience, and its incredible heart. Even as the world laughed, Maria held her head high. She offered a polite smile, her hands clasped gently in front of her chest, a quiet display of grace learned from her Filipino upbringing. Inside, she whispered to herself, "I am more than their laughter. I am Filipino, and I will stand tall." Those first few moments felt impossible, but she remained composed. Her words were careful, deliberate, and yet undeniably strong. Then, something shifted. Unexpectedly, a few voices of support began to rise from the noise. On social media, people started noticing her courage, her incredible composure, and her authenticity. "This Filipino woman is brave," someone wrote. Another tweet read, "She reminds me of my Lola, who never gives up." Slowly but surely, the support began to grow. Small ripples of admiration started appearing in the vast ocean of mockery, and it was just enough to spark a little bit of hope. Hours passed. The story started to spread, but not in the way her critics had intended. What was meant to humiliate her became a celebration of resilience. Memes and videos began circulating, but this time, they highlighted her bravery, her poise, and her unmistakable Filipino charm. From Manila to Cebu, from Los Angeles to Dubai, people were sharing her story. She was no longer just some woman on CNN. She had become a symbol of Filipino pride. Viewers from all over began praising her humility and her intelligence. The comments section transformed. "She speaks with the heart of the Philippines," one person wrote. "Her courage represents our spirit." The mockery slowly faded, replaced by a rising tide of admiration. Every new post, every share, reinforced the same truth. Maria had captured the world's heart, and no one could look away. The momentum became global. News outlets that had initially ignored her, or worse, joined in the ridicule, started covering her story from a completely different angle. Headlines shifted from mockery to admiration. Hashtags with her name trended worldwide. Strangers from different continents were now cheering for her. From a target of ridicule to a global hero, Maria became a symbol of courage, of Filipino resilience, of pure heart. Even those who had laughed first couldn't deny the wave of admiration that followed. And her fans celebrated her in the most incredible ways. Murals of her face appeared on city walls. People created reaction videos, their faces filled with awe and inspiration. Online communities hailed her bravery. Maria's story became a powerful reminder that anyone, from anywhere, could rise above mockery and shine. As she reflected on everything, the laughter, the shame, and then the overwhelming support, she understood something profound. Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just making a choice to stand firm, to speak your truth, and to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. And that one choice, as small as it seemed at the time, had made her a hero. Her story continued its viral journey. Millions across the world watched, but for Filipino viewers, it was a moment of special, collective pride. They shared clips, they wrote heartfelt messages, and they celebrated her as one of their own. Maria represented the very heart of the Philippines. Humble, strong, compassionate, and absolutely unwavering. People created art in her honor, shared her images, and celebrated her smile. Even major international news agencies began commenting on her extraordinary bravery. Maria's poise reminded the world that Filipino culture is rich with respect, humility, and courage. She was now more than just a viral story. She was a national symbol, a beacon of hope. The more she was celebrated, the more Maria reflected on her journey. She thought about the lessons from her upbringing: respect for elders, perseverance in the face of adversity, and the incredible importance of community. These values were embedded in her character, and they had guided her through the most difficult moments of her life. She remembered walking through the streets of Manila, the sound of jeepneys passing by, the familiar chaos of the city, the laughter of children playing in the barangay. All of it reminded her of who she was, where she came from, and why she carried herself with such pride. She realized that her courage wasn't just her own. It belonged to every single Filipino who had ever faced judgment, ridicule, or doubt, and had simply refused to give up. As the world's attention turned to admiration, Maria started receiving messages from young Filipinos who felt inspired by her. "You make me proud to be Filipino," one comment read. Another said, "Because of you, I believe in myself." Her story had become a mirror, reflecting the Filipino spirit back to the world: resilient, compassionate, proud, and incredibly strong. Yet, even as her fame grew, Maria remained humble. She knew her identity wasn't defined by the applause or the virality, but by the values she learned at home, the culture she carried in her heart, and the immense pride she felt for her nation. She accepted the praise quietly, always letting her actions and her courage speak louder than any words could. Her smile became more confident, her gestures calm yet expressive, reflecting the warmth of Filipino culture. She would wave to crowds, acknowledging their support, but in quiet moments, she also remembered the laughter that had tried to bring her down. And each memory of that mockery only strengthened her resolve. She knew that the strength of a Filipino lies not in avoiding criticism, but in standing tall in spite of it. Social media continued to be a celebration of her story. She became an inspiration not just to Filipinos, but to people everywhere. The world admired her for staying true to herself, for representing her culture with such dignity, and for turning a moment of global ridicule into a celebration of courage. As she reflected on this incredible journey, Maria realized the true power of identity. The world may laugh first, but Filipino courage always shines through. Her heritage, her values, her heart, and her pride had given her a strength that no amount of ridicule could ever take away. The story of Maria spread even further. Articles, videos, and tributes highlighted her Filipino roots, her resilience, and the pride she carried. From Manila to Los Angeles, Dubai to Tokyo, people were moved not just by her personal courage, but by the spirit of the nation she so gracefully represented. She understood that the admiration she received wasn't for fame, but for what she stood for: the Filipino spirit. Humble, strong, persevering, kind-hearted, and unwavering. A spirit that stands tall even when the world laughs. Even in quiet moments, Maria could feel the pride of her nation. She would think of the Philippine flag waving in the sun, the smiles of her family, the lessons taught by her elders, and the strength of the communities she had grown up in. This was so much more than a personal victory. It was a celebration of Filipino identity. Her story became a lesson for all of us, that courage, humility, and pride in your roots can overcome any ridicule. She had turned a moment of mockery into a moment of pure inspiration. Every Filipino watching her felt that pride swelling in their hearts. Her courage had given them hope and reminded them of the resilience that has been built into their culture for generations. And as Maria smiled at the world, waving to cheering crowds, seeing the Philippine flag waving behind her, she knew the undeniable truth. The world may laugh first, but the heart of a Filipino can never be broken. She had carried the pride of a nation with grace, courage, and strength, and that story would live on forever. The world laughed first, but Filipino courage always shines through. The woman they laughed at on CNN had become a symbol of hope, pride, and resilience, showing the entire world the true, unbreakable spirit of the Philippines. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the power of the human spirit. See you next time.